Welcome everyone. In this video we're going to talk about the concept of God. I know we all have our personal and experiential knowledge, but all that aside, we're going to have a discussion very in a philosophical sense. We're going to talk about how our definition of God and our understanding of God can they fit together. Can we have a comprised understanding? From the childhood days, I remember having God is strongly influenced by the cartoon series of Aladdin and the Genie. When I see that, like, about God as a friend, as a kind of a supernatural person, and at the same time a person who wants to fulfill what I desire in life. So that's the kind of other factors that can influence our understanding of God. But over the time we learn and we grapple with issues, and there are some things that our understanding gets developed. So the whole point of this video is to encourage that kind of an understanding of God that can help us grapple with the deep question that lies beneath in our hearts. See the definition of God. Definition of God is a supreme being, an ultimate reality who created everything. He is the creator of everything that we see. There are people who deny God, but we will come to that in a different video. But in this we're going to talk about the existence of God, or the understanding of God. So we're going to see God who is supreme, who is ultimate reality, and who is the creator of everything. But not just that, whether he is a person or impersonal entity. So that's what we're going to discuss. We're going to see if it is a person, then we talk about the attributes, like a personhood that does have attributes. It's like he has to be perfect in love, and he has to be perfect in wisdom and justice and power. So we're going to talk about that. So broadly classifying, we're going to see God mainly as an impersonal, and what are all the benefits out of it, and what are all the problems that we have to rectify when we see in a philosophical sense. At the same time, when we see about personhood also, and multiple personhood or multiple gods. So we're going to see one by one. First we dig into the aspect of God is impersonal. People call like a kind of a cosmic energy, a force. So what we mean by that, or how do we reconcile that when people mention as God as a cosmic energy? Just imagine if it is an energy or a force, it is incapable of feeling. So it cannot feel anything, and it is incapable of a relationship. We may not be able to have a relationship, but the good thing is the energy is we can through our physical activities or some kind of techniques, we harness that energy so that we will have a betterment in life, a fulfillment in life, and that is the understanding that many share. So, but what is the problem that we encounter is like the concept of prayer cannot make sense in that. It's like a person will be able to understand, but the relational and the prayer aspect, we cannot have it when we have understanding of God as a energy form. So that is the problem that we have to rectify or reconcile when we have understanding of such thing. So moving further, we have God as a person, a singularity, a one person. We have a lot of the problems that we have before can be eliminated. Thing is, he can be a relational God. We can have love shared because he is a person with feeling. So we can share what we feel like, and the aspect of prayer makes sense when we have God who is a person. So all this wonderful aspect that really kind of unravels when we have God as a person whom we can relate with, whom we can know, and who can reveal himself or something like that. But what can go wrong, or what's the problem that we have to rectify when we have such an understanding of God as a singular person? Here we find, just imagine with me, if God, before creating mankind and before creating the angelic beings or all the heavenly hosts, or even before creating the universe altogether, just imagine a God. We may not be able to have a God as a relational person. What do I mean by that? If we see the attribute of love, the attribute of love can only make sense when there is a lover and a loved one. So either God has to have the attribute of love that's complete, that's perfect love. He needs the creation to be existing, or he has to create. So it's that there are two aspects that's questionable, whether the aspect of a completeness of love and a completeness of being independent. So it's like he has to be dependent on his existence of the creation. So that is the thing that I want to highlight here. Whether can we reconcile that? So if God is a singular person, whom was he in love with, or is he dependent on the existence of or creating somebody so that he can have love? So those are all the aspects and other attributes that we can see that has to be rectified. So that is the simple highlight that we can bring in when we have to have the concept of God as a singularity. But then we move on where we see the idea of multiple gods. It's like different gods. So when we have this kind of an understanding, we meet a lot of, we eliminate a lot of the previous problems that we had, whether about energy or whether about singularity. But here we can have the personhood, the prayer makes sense, the relationship makes sense, and a lot of aspects that we can really have a clearer understanding. But one thing that again we have to rectify is, did they all exist from eternity to eternity? If some have begun to exist, is there a kind of a hierarchy? These are all the things that we may have to rectify. But the question that really boils down to is, who is the ultimate authority in all this? Do they all share the same view regarding universe, the creation, mankind, the life, or the destiny? That's most important. Do they all lead to the same destiny? So those are all the questions that we have to grapple with. So if there is hierarchy, then who is the ultimate authority? Especially why I mean by ultimate authority is, where do we get the answers for our questions from? It's like if we talk about the morality, what is right and what is wrong. So who has the ultimate answer for all of these questions that we have in our hearts? So those are all the aspects that we have to rectify and reconcile. And do they all share the same view? And and the question of omniscience, it's like, do they all know each other? If they all existed from eternity to eternity, do they all know each other? Are they in conflict with each other, or are they in complementing each other? So these are all the things that we have to grapple with. Saying these all and following the aspects of God as a cosmic energy, or God as a person in a singularity, or multiple gods, here we find Jesus, who comes into the picture. The Bible records him as in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. And few verses later we see the Word became flesh. So if you put both these statements together, we see God who came in flesh. So it's like God in flesh, but Jesus is not just talking about himself, he's talking about God as his Father, my Father. He says, my Father and I are one. And Jesus goes on to say that I will send the Holy Spirit who will be with you forever and ever. If we talk about all these three persons, then they all share a divine attribute of being forever and ever. But Jesus goes on to say that, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. The one in that sense of unity. It's like one God but three persons in that. It's like a tri-unity, what we call it as Trinity. Can it eliminate all those philosophical issues that we saw before? Yes, we can see a God who is not dependent on his creation in order to be relational or in order to be love. We see that three persons are in perfect communion, in perfect love, and they are codependent. They are not dependent on anything that they're going to create. So we see some of these issues being rectified, but ultimately we see the other aspects of wisdom where they're all knowing. If you see the teachings of Jesus, we can see deep, insightful teachings about life and practical wisdom that can benefit mankind. And we go further, we see whether he's all powerful. We see Jesus performing a lot of miracles, even to the point of bringing a dead person back from the grave after 4 days. And Jesus ultimately said that I'm going to be killed and I will come back to life. It's like the resurrection he gave as a firm evidence for his divine authority. So we see Jesus performing all these impossible things where as a humans people are not able to do. So hence we see the power of God being at work, but it doesn't stop with that. We see the justice aspect of God. What do I mean by that? Just imagine a person who does a heinous crime to another person, and both go before God. The offender asks God for forgiveness, and God says, okay, I'm all merciful and all loving, I will forgive you. What do you think will be the response from a victim? The victim would feel, Lord, I have been wronged. Is there no justice for what he has done wrong? So if you see, we always have an aspect of, if there is a wrong, if there is something that is a crime, there has to be a penalty for it. We see what is the claim here. Jesus, when he is on the cross, it's about the weight of the sins of the world are being placed upon him, and he paid for the sins of the world that people can be forgiven. There is an aspect of forgiveness. And the question that naturally that leads us to is, can someone pay for somebody else's debts? or in any other time scale that somebody did something, can it really apply to me? If we ask these questions, yet it makes sense, it's a valid question, because if some human does it, yes, it cannot apply to everybody. But if Jesus is who he claimed to be as God, it's like the second person of Trinity and coming and taking upon the flesh and taking the sins of the world. If he is God, yes, he can pay, because he is our creator who steps in to show his love, at the same time show the justice of God, that we can really be forgiven, that we can really have a eternity with him. So we see the attributes of God of love, justice, wisdom and power being all held together. At the same time, we see a perfect communion and perfect love in all sense. Putting all these things together, whether our understanding of God can fit into the definition of who God is. And that is the ultimate question that we are trying to explore in through this. We can always agree to disagree, but we can have an honest table talk over all these deep issues and deep questions that we can have of God, and that can be a way forward in our understanding and our grappling with the essential questions in life. See, if the aspect of God is not there, if God does not exist, we all have is a material universe and there's nothing to be bothered about. But if God is existing, then we need to have a clearer understanding, and we need to have this philosophical lens to sort out what can really make sense to us and how we can have a better understanding. Hopefully it gives you a clarity, it gives you a clearer picture. Can we have a better understanding of reality? If you think there are some more problems that we have to address, please let me know. So we can always agree to disagree, but at the same time we can always grow in our understanding of who God is. We can learn from each other. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. We'll meet up in the next video.